Hello and welcome, everyone. We are back with another episode of the Process and Automation podcast brought to you by the Automation Guys. So, with me here on the show, as always, is Arno. Hello, Arno.
Safa.
Yeah, cool. Just before the show, I looked back a bit what we have been up to throughout the year so far. You believe it, maybe, or not, Arno, but we have nearly done 100 episodes. So we will have the 100 episodes very, very soon in the box, which is absolutely amazing. And yeah, once we have reached that big milestone, I think we have to do something special. Arno, let's think about something really nice for our listeners when we hit the 100.
Yeah, we're on
So
sessions as well from the listeners, but yeah, we have to make
yeah,
it one.
we
Been,
need to do a special one. Yeah.
I think it's been over 2 years that we been talking.
Yeah, I think we started quite a while ago. Yeah, doing this regularly. So yeah, nearly 100 soon. So yeah, we will do something special and look out for that. So that means we have talked a lot about all things process and automation here: low code, no code, RPA, workflow, process mining, and so on. So it was really great. Yeah, a big thanks because yeah, when I looked at it, I thought, wow, this is amazing. It would haven't been possible without with our listeners, of course, and with our amazing guests we had on the show as well over the last sort of nearly 100 episodes. So really, really exciting. So yeah, that brings me now to today's topic. There's a very interesting statistic. 70% of organizations have already piloted automation technologies, but many struggle to achieve the full potential of digital transformation with less than 20% managing to scale across multiple parts of their operations. And that's really sad because there's so much potential in these technologies. But yeah, it is complex for lots of business to get started. So organizations often fall into the same common traps. We hear that day in, day out. And that's why we thought we will go through a list of the top digital transformation pitfalls to avoid today. And yeah, so when avoiding those kind of pitfalls, you will reach a faster, more seamless digital transformation journey. So let's dive straight in. Yeah. So with that one, we go to pitfall number one.
So there's this sort of go big or go home mentality in digital transformation, and we see this a lot, where people want to go wide, they want to go kind of big, and and I think that there's a reality that some business leaders and technical leaders as well are trying to kind of get ahead and sort of drive the full force of digitalization into a business, and this can often lead to starting with overly complicated projects or prematurely implementing the automations, across business operations. And I guess instead, what should happen is organizations should start simple. I think organizations will know their internal capabilities. So they'll define what simple looks like, if that makes sense. And and then they could use that success, and specifically from a sort of a case study perspective, as almost like a poster child for the rest of the organization, to kind of foster this digital transformation that needs to come into the business. You have to start somewhere and deliver something, and something meaningful. Choose the right process to automate. We've talked a lot in this podcast. You mentioned 100 or so episodes almost, but we've talked a lot about use cases as well, and they are genuinely low-hanging fruit out there that you can go pick. The onboarding, the offboarding, accounts payable, accounts receivable, processes within inside or HR, for example. So these processes are very generic across a lot of businesses. And when you start, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be something that people can actually start to use. If you look at employee onboarding, that's a very good example where you could pull in, workflow automation. So that's kind of human to human task flow, robotic process automation to actually move work away, especially mundane work away from people. You could use artificial intelligence to go out and actually scan through CVs, for example, during the kind of recruitment campaign, reporting to actually see the health, the state of your processes. You mentioned process miners. So there's all kind of these tools that if you choose a very, very familiar use case and you then apply what might be perceived as reasonably complicated technology, people will get it, they will understand, and also they will see the benefits very quickly. And again, the point here is, some make that mistake and starting with a very complex project because they want to speed up their return of investment because, the technology vendor said that's what you need to do. You need to exploit automation to get your ROI numbers. And again, you can find yourselves encumbered by the sort of sheer complexity of the project. Then, if you start a bit smaller, you can better facilitate your team's sort of educational needs of the new tools, familiarization of how the tools will help them. You can fine-tune your operating model so that if you bring digital workers within site, the process to the forefront, people understand how that works, and then you can build on this newfound knowledge that can be then applied to more complicated projects sort of moving forward, the old lessons learned thing. But I think this is a true example of where that could be very beneficial. And there's a lot of people out there, organizations that falsely assume they need to acquire, very kind of expensive technical expertise to drive significant change with inside your business. But, you don't need that. Your digital transformation journey can start at the back of really good common sense, very good business analysts, some technical support, some oversight, and again, a familiar use case. Choose something that is generic. Again, I'm going to bring in the onboarding or the accounts receivable, accounts payables, the invoice processing. That has been done for so long, so people are really familiar with those examples. And I think this is where low-code application platforms comes into their own, because you can sort of experiment. You can actually start sort of showcasing some early successes of a digital transformation journey using sort of low-code application development platforms, because it's very quick to use. You can plug in lots of nice automations within inside the platform. You could train your in-house development team to effectively start developing software that connects systems and connect people with their processes, automate their processes. I touched a bit on RPA and bring elements of RPA in, and that would start to sort of unleash, all of the other possibilities and open people's mind up as to what is possible. And if you present something that's a success, it's going to be very easy to embark on your next phase of your journey, because that's going to build on positivity. So all of this is it's sort of part of the it's almost unavoidable in the kind of the learning process. And again, the key is to learn from these mistakes and make sure they're not costly mistakes. Because if you do start simple, you can pivot away. You can always raise your hand. You can come to a technology partner. Sasha, like me and you, we kind of help people on these initial journeys, get them in a direction, make sure there's a proper roadmap. Try and assess their strategy. And also kind of look if they're traveling in the right direction, right? So, and this can be anything from looking at their digital transformation strategy, also trying to look at, are they choosing the right technology? Are they actually choosing the right use cases? So sort of just shaping that initial starting block, helping people to sort of take that first couple of steps. They can then start to see the successes and realize this is not very difficult if you've got the right help, the right help, support, the right tech, and essentially sort of building on that positive energy to make digital transformation successful and avoid failure, right?
Absolutely. So you just touched briefly on the topic of strategy, and that's also one of the so you need to have that strategy in place, even if you go very, very small and iterative, but you need to have a think of where do you want to go. So in advance for your digital transformation, without one clear strategy, you will have not enough focus for it, and you will use your resources not maybe to the most effective way. So have some long-term goals along with these shorter term plans. So this is where you do these iterations and that, but of course you have to have that long-term goal. So if you don't have one, things will become a bit difficult. So take these long-term goals with a variety of time scales, and keep that there for to start with. And of course, that shouldn't be just a decision of one person or just one or two people in the company. So ideally, you need to speak with all people or with a group of people across the organization, with the different departments, because effective processes are generally going from one department to the other, or lots of processes go through different departments. Of course, to have them really effective running through from one department to the other, that needs to work together. Have that group of people across different departments in your organization, and especially those who will use the new tools you developed and the new platforms and new automations, etc. So then, because that group of people will really make it a success, or they will tell you if it was a success, and they're very keen on a success as well. So that feedback is very, very important as part of your strategy. And by including the colleagues, even if they are not really technical, because low code and no code does not really necessarily require too much sort of technical people. It's really important to include your colleagues from different teams in the design process. You need that really, really substantial buy-in. And that will really boost that productivity further down the line and ease the workloads. And of course, these colleagues, when they find out this solution works really, really well for them, that's the energy Arno talked about earlier. So they will bring that excitement to other departments, to other groups in the business, and then they will sit together. They repeat the process again. So it's really critical that you and your company take that time to also understand processes before you start automating them. So that's also part of this strategy. And if you don't have that in place, you will make too many mistakes, I guess, on the way, and then you will think, oh damn, this automation thing overall will not work out, or we stop there because we have done too many mistakes. So you can plan for success, and a strategy is really, really important for that.
Yeah. So the next pitfall is going it alone. So, we always say this in our messaging that, if you work with a technical partner that's been there before, they've got really good experience working with other customers, especially applying automation, not just initial projects, but also automation at scale. So that will kind of be the future state that you want to be, or even working with a vendor it can be a very easy and cost-effective way to ensure that your digital transformation program is a resounding success. And it sort of accelerate the whole process, and this includes, it kind of accelerates your building of new capabilities, applying the technologies, and then also from a business perspective, it will give you that sort of agility to perhaps go into new markets, and launch new products, because you've got this confidence that you can actually bring automation into your business for a particular service or product that you're offering, or product set. And you're not going to have a very high cost to sort of manage that. So you're going to be profitable. And again, sort of find a very committed partner with proven experience and expertise with inside the vertical is important, because they can help you deliver sort of the tailored and the impacted outcomes that you wish to achieve, and then get you to the return of investment that everybody was talking about in the business case. When you started sort of touching on why should we bring this into the business, and again, when you look for a partner, if you're gonna sort of bring a low-code platform into the fold, make sure obviously they have that proven track record. And they'll help you sort of adapt to sort of how to work, and how to bring maybe some of your technical expertise on board, so they can do some of the development, and make sure that sort of work with inside your, perhaps from a technical perspective, existing infrastructure, for example, and that can also allow you to digitize at a pace that works for you. But partners, I certainly speak for ourselves, but we quite flexible in the way we work with our customers. We know certain customers have got more skill sets than others. So there's various sort of demographics in terms of the customer space that we work with, and it's always to do with trying to kind of carve out a plan for digital transformation at a pace that works for a specific customer. And and again, this is not just limited to low code. I'm talking about wider advanced technologies as well, like RPA, AI, machine learning, intelligent chatbots, and so all of the kind of the progressive new automation technologies as well. And of course, if you go to a partner, they will have a library, a suite of solutions that they've already sort of created as part of automation initiatives, perhaps for other projects, for other clients, and they reuse that. We do that a lot, where we've got a specific, let's say, invoice processing process that we've done for a specific customer. We know the pitfalls, we know the sort of failure points. And all we do is we sort of take what works best for that customer and sort of just apply that knowledge to the new customer. And of course, that that maximize returns of our investment in terms of time, effort people put in, because you're not constantly reinventing the wheel. And of course, that boosts productivity. And at the end of the day, that just makes sure that you get to that point where you could see the outcomes of your digital transformation faster.
That's good. So yeah, and you mentioned this as well about the so as well as talent and capabilities. I know lots of customers, they actually do not want to become a solution developing company, right? So they have a problem, so that they have an idea of what problem they have to solve, but it really is possible to do it without own skill set. And then for that, of course, you need to bring in a partner. You can get you going there. Maybe you have one member later on upskilled, but generally, there are lots of companies do not want to build a sort of a tech team around that, right? So the next one is it's a bit in line with what you mentioned, but is one of the pitfalls to avoid is trying to um, do it without a team generally. So it is very, very important that you're not sort of get going on your own and try out a few things in the beginning. So it's really, really important to bring the entire team along. As I mentioned earlier, everyone who will be part of the process and use these solutions going forward, they have to be part of it from the beginning, ideally. So that coordination between these team members, make sure everyone is working towards the same goal. That again goes back to sort of strategy. And then if you would do it on your own in this department and in that department, everyone just picks a tool to do some low-code development, no-code development. Everyone will do sort of maybe the same mistakes. So avoiding these mistakes is very important. And I guess doing something together as well as encouraging everyone to learning these new technologies and to play with these new innovations. It really will really build a culture of innovation in a company if you do it as a team. And long term it will also save costs by people doing these things on their own again and again. So you avoid that double work and not so often, no, very often actually. There will be chaos if everyone freckles, or not freckles, that's the wrong word, but that does stuff on their own without any guidelines, etc. So of course we want everyone to be excited about low code and experiment with that, but it has to be sort of as part of a team. So and when that is in place, you can use all sorts of people in your organization, the business users, low-code developers, IT teams. So everyone can use these low-code tools. But communication between these teams really is very important for that effective automation outcome. So so that's my point here on that one.
Yeah, I just want to add something small there. It's like the you don't want heroes, inside these programs where it's one person that's really, really good and they get very frustrated and they don't take the whole team with them. We talked about the episode where we chatted about specifically about the rugby with the Rugby World Cup that's just been on, and it's all about kind of teamwork and understanding people's and heroes sometimes also have to sit on the bench and wait their turn, right? Because you can't just have heroes dotted around and then everybody else is not at that pace, and the whole thing just kind of fails. That's
why you need your strategy, isn't it? So then you know exactly who to deploy and what to deploy at what time, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So the last one, the last point I want to talk about is sort of just risk aversion. And people, like I said earlier, we do learn from our mistakes. I think the most successful organizations that we've worked for out there sort of reward and embrace this mindset. And they realize that experimentation is a prerequisite for innovation and also for creativity. And I think there was a thing that I read about Google where they found that employees felt that they could take risks without the shame of being criticized or for feeling bad for failing. These individuals actually did better work, and this culture or this ethos really fosters faster time to value for product development, innovation inside your business. Because when workers feel not worried about absolute perfection the first time around, they feel a bit more relaxed, and I think this is where true sort of creativity comes out, because that is a very good foundation where people are relaxed to sort of build successful automations on, or any sort of thing that you achieve really, I guess, in life as well. So, and kind of back to this Google example, members in that team iterate a lot quicker and more often. And again, it's also a bit like SpaceX with the things they do. They fail fast and they learn from that. They're not scared of a big explosion. So, and I think, if you have got the sort of the repeated iteration in the context of digital transformation, that's when you will start to understand for your particular organization what type of risks you can take, which ones you should avoid. And that will give you a sort of very solid foundation to understand, well, risks are taken care of now. Let's look at other elements that we need to do to make this program successful. And again, don't expect to be right the first time. Just iterate. And this again is where the tools and the technologies we use to build business process automation solutions allow it. It's an enabler for that. You look at low-code platforms, for example. If you look at just traditional workflow where you create an application where you automate the process, that's up to 70% quicker compared to high code or conventional high code development. So that gives you a lot of bandwidth to actually play around with and iterate. If you don't get the process right the first time, that's okay. You can still iterate because it's still not costing as much as a conventional development team would have costed if you would do the same thing. If you were to use a sort of a coded approach, then again, if you iterate, that's throwaway. So that's a lot of resources that you waste. That's just kind of one example. There's so many examples out there where low code actually comes into its own when you start doing experimentation and iteration. We see it on a daily basis where people don't really understand what their requirements are. They'll give you one or two liners. They'll say, this is what we want to achieve. We might go and pick something off the shelf to say, well, this is a very good example we've got from a previous customer. Let's go and provide you with a baseline. Let's, in a couple of days, give you something to play with. All we need from you now is your feedback. And then that feedback gets very important because that gets pushed into the front of the funnel. And that goes through the sort of development process and produces outcomes very fast while you still have that stakeholders' attention. You could show that to them and say, is this what you mean? Yes, that's almost right, but can I do this? So it's sort of this, it facilitates this sort of creation of the product kind of organically, but in a really, really quick pace, or at a quick pace. So it's sort of like evolutionary, but it's revolutionary because it's fast, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think the point here is that get feedback and incorporate real world experience into your product development, because that's when you would, yield very, very, very good outcomes from any digital transformation project that you tackle. And again, it is all about fast, iterative. Don't worry about mistakes. Of course, there's a lot of other things that we talk about, governance and things like that. That is important. But if you start small, then those elements will be small as well. And as you evolve, then there will be sort of devolution where you say, well, governance is now a separate work stream that we need to think about. That is important. So all of those things, those building blocks will eventually become crystal clear. But when you start day one and you try to unpack all these things and you throw governance in, stakeholders are just going to look at this and be like, wow, this is a really, really tall mountain to climb. We can't do this. And that's, earlier when you mentioned the statistics of, say, 70% of these organizations has already sort of piloted automation technologies, but they sort of struggle to find traction, and then 20% of them sort of just follow the scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I think choosing the right processes in the beginning, as you mentioned earlier, is the right thing. So start small, which start with the right one, with the low hanging fruits, and lots of these big organizations we have worked with, they say, okay, this sounds great, all these technologies is awesome, but they nearly see it like, okay, we have one shot at it. I don't know why they think that sometimes, and then they will obviously they will take they want to take a big one. Um, so a big one which has been problematic in the past, or is problematic at the moment. Sure, you have to concentrate on it, but eventually, and not in too far into the future. Well, very often they pick these big projects with the complexity where you need all this governance straight away, and yeah, and that's where it gets really hard, and then they nearly see it like a waterfall project. That's what we see as well with lots of things in local government. I think this is how local government or generally government is structured. Often say they have to nearly address it like a waterfall project because it's like a one-off project they have to get budget for. But we know digital transformation and process automation and all these initiatives is a continuous thing. It's you do something, you analyze, you improve, and then it continues again. So this is where it is most successful in organizations who embrace that. If you are like a big financial corporation and you still take digital transformation as a waterfall project, yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Because you have to approach it agile. Yeah. So that's one reason. But organizations, as we mentioned earlier, they really fall often into the same traps. So the last 5 points we addressed, the pitfalls we addressed are to be avoided. I hope these 5 points have been useful and gave you a few pointers, few insights. If that was useful to you, yeah, please leave us feedback on the automationguys.net website, or give us some feedback on the podcast platform where you hear that. If you like that episode, please give us 5 stars. Yeah, and as always, reach out to us to have further discussions if you're interested. Yeah, check out our community on theautomationguys.net. We will be really excited to have you there and have more conversations and discussions about all things process and automation. So yeah, we will be back with more episodes, getting our 100 episodes in very soon. That will be very exciting. We will be back here next week, and until then, let's automate it.